Monday, April 17th, 2023, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today we're going to look at socialism and how it's throttling the country, not just the UK, of course, but the US, Europe, the whole world. Yes, I've got Rudy with me. There he is. Hopefully he'll behave. But if not, we're going to have to do something about it, right, Rudy? Anyway, before I start, I'd like to thank all of you again for your interest in the channel. We're approaching 90,000 subscribers. So if you enjoy watching my videos but haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. Make sure you also hit the little notification bell to be notified of all my new videos. I make one every day. And also, if you like my videos, make sure you hit the like button. So I've got here something I bought from Peter Morris, Coins and Metals. He's my kind of local coin shop in southeast London. And he sells memorabilia and old things. And I bought this at this shop in Bromley North Station. Socialism is throttling the country. There you go. And this is from a 1909 political campaign. And I think it was a campaign poster by the Conservative Party. Am I going to get political here? I guess I'll have to. But as I said, I'm not into politics. I think the best kind of government is very small government, limited government. I think it was Jefferson who said, Thomas Jefferson, that is, the bigger government gets, the less freedom you have. So yeah, socialism. Why is it such a bad policy in my opinion? Well, because the only way to have socialism is to take from Peter and give it to Paul. There's more authoritarianism. The individual is not as free to do as the individual wants. Taxation is heavy. Socialism also goes hand in hand with fiat currency because statists, and that's what socialists are. They don't like sound money because it limits the amount of spending they can do. And unfortunately, we've got socialism everywhere right now, and even the Conservative Party has become socialist. So as long as we've got huge deficit spending, the national debt ballooning, and that's happening not just in the US, it's happening in the UK. I saw that in the US, the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, is expecting the national debt to go up to 50 trillion. Of course, Janet Yellen doesn't seem to think it's a problem. She's a socialist. And believe me, in socialism, you also get those who benefit, those at the top, those corporatists as well. And I'm going to read here some comments. And this is from Frank Hollenbach from the Foundation for Economic Education. Lenin was right about the destructive power of inflation. Will the United States repeat the errors of the past by trying to fix a credit crisis with more debt? And this is from September 8th, 2019. And they did, of course. So I'm not going to go through the whole article. I'll put a link to the article below in the description of the video. What I found interesting is that he quoted Keynes here, as you can see. By a continuing process of inflation, governments can confiscate secretly and unobserved an important part of the wealth of their citizens. By this method, they not only confiscate, but they confiscate arbitrarily. And while the process impoverishes many, it actually enriches some. Well, I heard that the former president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, she's become the president of the new BRICS Bank, and she's gonna earn like I think $500,000 a year. So jobs for the boys and girls. So yes, the BRICS are going to challenge the dollar. Are they going to be any better? I don't think so. The side of this arbitrary rearrangement of riches strikes not only at security, but at confidence in the equity of existing distribution of wealth. And now I think the 1% in the US, the top 1%, they own 40% of the wealth. It could be even a smaller proportion. That's what's happening. Socialism, inflation, fiat currency leads to all that. Is it any wonder that the West is becoming more and more like the third world? We're catching down with them. And I don't know if you remember, if you're in the UK, this speech, I think it was Thatcher's final speech to the House of Commons, November 22nd, 1990. Look at what she said about socialism.
I think I must have hit the right nail on the head when I pointed out that the logic of those policies are they'd rather have the poor poorer. Once they start to talk about the gap, they'd rather the gap was that. Down here. That. Not that. But that. So long as the gap is smaller, they'd rather have the poor poorer. You do not create wealth and opportunity that way.
Am I a Thatcher fan? Not really. I don't really care that much, as I said, about politics before, but what she said there makes a lot of sense. So let's continue with the Keynes comments. As the inflation proceeds and the real value of the currency fluctuates wildly from month to month, all permanent relations between debtors and creditors, which form the ultimate foundation of capitalism, become so utterly disordered as to be almost meaningless, and the process of wealth getting degenerates into a gamble and a lottery. Lenin was certainly right. There's no subtler, no surer means of overturning the existing basis of society than to debauch the currency. The process engages all hidden forces of economic law on the side of destruction, and does it in a manner which not one in a million is able to diagnose. There you go. Is that figure still 1 in a million? Yes, definitely, because unfortunately, unless you're watching my channel and have been watching it for a long time and you agree with me about inflation, most of the world doesn't really know what inflation is. It's not the CPI, of course. And actually, I'm going to go back to Margaret Thatcher. I've got here an old newspaper. A friend of mine gave it to me for my birthday a couple of years ago. And it's from November 13th, 1979. It's the Times, as you can see here. And there's an article here. Says grim economic warning from Mrs. Thatcher. So let's go through that, because she said some interesting things here that I would like to hear being said these days, but I don't expect it. So it says here, the aim is to restore sound money, a situation where the currency of the realm can be a store of value as well as a means of exchange. It is a Herculean task, but we are not faint-hearted pilgrims. We will not be deflected by a stony path. Although they were for 1 month only, the recent bank lending figures were a serious disappointment. We shall take whatever action it is necessary to contain the growth of the money supply. The government, unlike so many of its predecessors, will face up to economic realities. Mrs. Thatcher was referencing to October's substantial increase in bank lending, which probably indicates that the money supply growth targets of between 7 and 11% are being exceeded despite the government's best endeavors. So there you go. Could you really see the government nowadays in the UK or even in the US trying to restrict bank lending? No. The name of the game now is more and more credit, keep the housing bubble going, right? So that was very interesting. I thought, I guess Margaret Thatcher knew how inflation really worked. But nowadays, we look at the CPI and the RPI, and talking about those, the UK inflation data, they're coming out this Wednesday. Yes, they're expected, the rate of increase is expected to drop a little bit. I see here in front of me, investing.com. According to them, the economists in the city expect the CPI to drop from 10.4% in February to 9.8% in March. It's still almost 10%. The RPI, the retail price index, that's expected to drop from 13.8 to 13.3. Of course, they're doing nothing to limit the supply or the growth of bank lending, mortgage lending. They want that, and that's never gonna really. The Bank of England is never gonna fight inflation in the classical sense here, and that's why things are gonna get worse. Socialism is going to continue to throttle the country. Will it matter if the Conservatives win the next election? Will it be better? No, because the Conservatives are socialists as well. All the policies, all the bailouts that we've seen in the last 15 years, it's not just been Labour, but also Conservatives. They've bailed out energy companies. They're giving handouts to everyone. Even I got some help for my energy bills. And that is socialism. And the size of government as well. Government spending is over 50% of GDP. So, yes, there are a few who benefit. Those that are near government, those that are in the big corporations, the people who really get hurt are the nurses, the doctors, the train drivers. And is it any wonder that we're having the problems with strikes? And they keep saying that they're the ones who caused the inflation, while it's been governments through deficit spending, through bailouts, through all these programs, fiscal programs. So I'm giving you here what's really going on. Am I being negative? No, I'm positive. I just want people to know what's going on so that they can, because if you know what's going on, if you know what your enemy is doing, you're halfway to winning the battle. It's up to you to do what you need to do financially to keep afloat in this world of socialism and inflation. How do I try to do it? Well, I try to be self-reliant and independent, never have to depend on the government for anything. Yes, they did send me some checks now for utility bills, but I could have, I didn't need them. I didn't send it back, of course. But the other thing as well, if you are fortunate enough to be generating spare income, I try to put a little bit into gold and silver, because gold and silver are money and they can't be created out of thin air. How governments and central banks seem to keep on doing right now. So there you go. Socialism is throttling the country. And unfortunately, the whole political establishment is in with it. What's our hope? Well, our hope is that the inflation finally destroys the currency. Like Rafi Faber said, hyperinflation is our best hope, because socialism wouldn't work without fiat currency. So when it's going to happen, I don't know, but I think we're close to it. I've spoken about hyperinflation many times. We're getting the political ingredients now. And if you want to learn more about currency collapse or hyperinflation, I have a playlist, a hyperinflation playlist, which you can listen to. So yeah, Rudy had to go back out. He was a little restless. Anyway, let's quickly look at where the markets are this morning. It's 8:24 a.m. London time. So we've got spot gold at 2012. It's up about $8. Low was 1995 and the high has been 2015. We've got silver, spot silver up 16 cents or 2/3%, 25.51, right near the highs. The low has been 25.15. The Dow futures is up 53, NASDAQ is up 20, and the S&P is up 9. To the currencies, sterling is unchanged, 124.16. The euro as well unchanged, just below 110. The dollar is up 0.2 versus the yen at 133.98. And the dollar is unchanged versus the yuan at 687. Let's check out the ruble. Russian ruble, the dollar's at 82, so no change, slightly higher than it was last week, I think on Friday, around 81.50. To the other currencies here, Aussie dollar is unchanged, 67.15. The dollar is down slightly versus the Canadian dollar, 134.48. And the Kiwi dollar is unchanged. To the commodities, we've got platinum, 1,045. That's unchanged. WTI crude is down slightly at 82.33. Brent as well, down slightly, just below 86. And high-grade copper is up 0.4% at 412.25. Let's have a quick look at the bond markets. The 10-year yield is unchanged at 352. The 2-year is up 3 basis points at 413. The 3-month T-bill is at 517. That's up 8 basis points. That's to do more with this budget impasse. We need to keep an eye on that, of course. What about the UK bond markets, UK interest rates? And these are important because the socialists, they're going to try to keep manipulating these rates lower. And why is that? Well, because it's the cost of borrowing for government. And to keep their socialism going, you can't have very high rates. How are they going to do that? Well, I think the central banks are going to oblige and do a lot more QE. Yeah, right now they're doing the reverse, but they're going to turn. I think they're going to find a crisis, an excuse for that. So the 2-year yield is at 362, the gilt yield, and the 10-year is at 370. They're up about 2 to 3 basis points. And we got the 30-year, that's back above 4%. So yeah, not great for the socialists. The higher the rates go, the better for us freedom-loving individuals. Of course, there might be some of you who like socialism, who think that the state owes you everything. And that's your prerogative. So there you go. With that, I'm going to wish you a very good day. Take care. Bye.